I jumped over the bench. I showed you pictures of the desk. Obviously, you will have to jump over the bench. I think in school also you have to do the same thing. You have to basically cross iron rod to get inside the desk area. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So, what coat is this? Nowadays, if you look at anybody's wardrobe, there are more clothes than you can count on your feet. There is too much. There are things that are surfing at the deep end of the wardrobe that you people do not realize till you take them out 2 years later and find that you have become too grown up to wear them anymore. But in those days, people did not have so many clothes. A person would have maybe 2 or 3 sets, and one set would be a better set, okay, slightly more costly. And this set he would use for all the important occasions. So, what are the examples of important occasions? Well, prize days and inspection days, or going to church days. These are those kinds of days when he would wear something like what he was wearing on this particular day. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. Solemn means serious. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people. So why had the village people come to a children's classroom? And who were sitting there? Pretty old people, like Old Hauser. He's known as Old Hauser because he is so old. And he was wearing his three-cornered hat. What is a three-cornered hat? This was a very French thing. People in the other parts of the world normally did not wear three-cornered hats. So he was wearing his three-cornered hat. The former mayor was there. These are actually old people, okay? The former postmaster and several others besides. You wouldn't even expect the current postmaster and the mayor to be there in the classroom. And here we are talking former. Everybody looked sad. And Hauser had brought an old primer. What's a primer? A primer is the first book that you ever read. The ABCDs. That's your primer. So he was holding his primer. Obviously, that is because he never went past the primer. He is a farmer. His job is in the fields. So he had started studying. He had left it. Probably he didn't find it important. Probably there were other things more important, like he had to work in the fields. So his father and mother said that no use you get going there. So he had never gone past the primer. He held that primer now. Thumbed at the edges. When you turn the pages, you thumb at the edges so that it leaves a mark on the edges of the pages. And he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair. And in the mounted meaning, he sat down on his chair in the same grave means serious, and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin's Germany, to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine." So people know that if you have to conquer a particular place, conquer their language first. If you conquer their language and make them learn the wrong language long enough, they will forget their culture. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive. What a thunderclap. So these words hit him like a thunderclap. Oh, the wretches meaning miserable people. That was what they had put up at the town hall. So the news at the town hall, the bulletin board, was that French will no longer be taught to the people of these two regions. That was what everybody was looking at.
My last French lesson, why I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn anymore. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the sand. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was.
So, basic theme of this particular paragraph is when something is easily available to you, you do not understand how important it is. You need the absence of that particular thing to realize how important a person or a thing is. So he suddenly realized that this was his last French lesson. And with that came the realization that he had wasted too much time and he would never have the time to learn all of that anymore. He was just not allowed to. And just because they told him that he was not allowed to learn it, made him want to learn it even more. Now, how had he wasted his time? Well, he had gone seeking birds' eggs. This is a very common activity for boys and girls in a village. Now, he would go seeking birds' eggs, he would go sliding on the Sar. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And he couldn't, wonder of wonders, he suddenly started missing him, Hamel.
Poor man! It was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. And now I understand why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry too, that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing the respect for the country that was theirs no more.
While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. What would I have not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for the participle all through, very loud and clear, and without one mistake? But I got mixed up on the first words and stood there holding onto my desk, my heart beating, and not daring to look up.
See, at a time like this, a student does not need scolding. At a time like this, a student does not need, you don't need to tell the student that he or she has done a bad job. The feelings that are there inside of that student are enough.
But I got mixed up on. I heard Hamel say to me, I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, Bah, I have plenty of time. I'll learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. Ah, that's the great trouble with all says. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it? You pretend to be Frenchmen, and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. But you are not the worst, poor little Franz. We have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with.
So he is not scolding him, but he is still, with his words, poking him where it hurts more, his national sentiment. He is telling him that if you want to stand up for Alsace and if you want to be proud as a Frenchman, how will you justify your love for your country when you can't even read and write your own language properly? Reproach, the word reproach means scold.
Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? Then, from one thing to another, M. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful languages in the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it, because when our people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Then he opened the grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood. All he said seemed so easy, so easy. I think, too, that I had never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads at one stroke.
your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. Now, I told you about old Hausa that probably that was what happened to him. So you see, this is not so uncommon. Parents who are farmers, they think farming is more important because they're always a hand short at the farm. So they think farming is more important than going to school. And I have been to blame also. Now you might see the informal way the teacher is connected to the student, because in your school you don't have this kind of a thing. In your school, your teacher does not say to you, go and water my flowers. In your school, the teacher doesn't suddenly not turn up because she wants to go to the shopping mall or he wants to go to the shopping mall. But over there, things were a lot more informal. This is a long time ago. Then from one thing to another, M. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, and this particular paragraph, very, very important and golden words also. So what is he saying here, M. Hamel? He is saying that number one, take pride in your language. Why? Because the French language, according to him, is the clearest and the most logical language in the whole world. To a certain extent, it's not untrue, because the French language is very close to the Latin language, closer to the Latin language than English. And it is in that sense clearer. I mean, Latin is almost as clean and clear as Sanskrit. So it is the most clearest, it is the most logical. We must guard it. Why? Because as long as we have our language, we remember our culture. We remember what kind of people we are. And if we remember that, the seed for rebellion will always be there. You will always rebel against an external force that is trying to subdue you. If you forget who you are, you won't rebel. The trick is in remembering for as long as it takes. Now, hold fast to the language. See here it mentions when a people are enslaved. It might seem like wrong grammar to you. It is not. When a people means people of a particular kind. When they are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to the language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Then he opened a grammar, and that is wrong. This is a misprinting. A people is not. So here it should be a grammar book, and read us our lesson. Two things made. He says that Franz says that he was really amazed at how well he understood it. Why didn't he understand it better before? Two things. M. Hamel had never taught with this much devotion in all his 40 years. And secondly, he had never tried to learn with so much devotion and attention. These are the two things that made it possible for him to understand things that till now seemed absolutely opaque, dull, boring, undoable.
Watch the next part for the rest of the chapter. If you want a video on a particular topic, let us know in the comment section below. And kindly visit our website raretutorial.com to know more. Thank you for watching the video. For more such educational content, please like, share and subscribe to our channel.